Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
And there we have our Torah blessing. Shabbat Shalom. I hope that everyone is doing great and living blessed this weekend. Now, this week we start our second portion out of the book of Deuteronomy, our Devarim. And this week our Torah portion is Va'etchananan, which meaning is I pleaded, as is the first word of our Torah portion. In the parashah of Deuteronomy, chapter 3, verse 23 through chapter 7, verse 11. Now, there are more than 70 new laws in the book of Devarim for a future time when the children of Israel are to enter into the promised land. Now, Moses here and now tells us by means of Yahweh that we must not just study Torah to just gain knowledge, but we must study it and observe and live it as in living Torah. And that is then part of fulfilling Torah. Also the statutes and the laws. So as we open, we see that in continuing on from last week's parashah, Devarim, that now Moshe is pleading to Yahweh as a servant to the greatness of our mighty Adonai to please let him go over and to see the good land beyond the Jordan, that good hill country in Lebanon. Now Moshe knew that at this point he would never be allowed or allotted to enter into the promised land, but he only wanted to at least see the promised land that he had helped the children of Israel to receive. But as he was explaining, he states that because of the children of Israel, that he would not be able to enter into it, the promised land. But now we know that this was not the case, as it was Moshe's anger in which led him not to be able to enter into the land, as his anger caused him to defy Yahweh's instructions. So now after this, we are told that Yahweh was angry with Moshe and instructed him not to speak of this matter again. But now, being that we have a loving and a forgiving Abba, Father, he allowed Moshe to go up to the top of Pisgah, which is in Hebrew means a summit or else a peak. It is also where Balak in Numbers 21:20 and 23:14 offered up sacrifices. Now, at the top of Pisgah, Yahweh instructed Moshe to lift up his eyes and to look westward and northward and southward and eastward with his eyes, to see all that was promised, though he shall not go over or into it, but he may see it. And he was told to charge Joshua or Yeshua to encourage and strengthen him, as he would be the head of the children of Israel, and he would put them in possession of the land that Moshe was staring at. Now in chapter 4, Moshe is instructing the children of Israel and us all here today to listen. You hear this? To listen to all of the statutes and rules that Yahweh had given through Moshe to us. But not, and I repeat, not to just hear of them, but to always remember to what? Exactly, to do them and to remember Yahweh. Now, also that we should not add to the words of Yahweh or take away from them. Now, if that is not enough encouragement for us, as we also see that Yeshua reaffirms this in Matthew 5:17 through 19, when Yeshua said with all of the authority, "Don't think that I have come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to complete. Yes, indeed, I tell you that until heaven and earth pass away, not so much as a yud or a stroke will pass from the Torah, not until everything that must happen has happened. So whoever disobeys the least of these mitzvahs and teaches others to do so will be called the least in the kingdom of Shamayim, heaven. But whoever obeys them and so teaches will be called great, Gadol, in the kingdom of Shamayim, heaven. Now, this just reaffirms to all of those who say that the law was abolished that it wasn't. As it was said in the Tanakh, so was it said in the Brit Kadashah. As Yahweh has taught us his statutes and his rules, he forever expects us to maintain and follow and observe them, and to keep and to do them. For what great nation is there that has a Yahweh so near to it as Adonai our Yahweh is to us whenever we call on him? Just think about that for a moment. And what great nation is there that has his statutes and rules so righteous as all this law that he set before us today? So Moshe here instills in us to remember how when Yahweh spoke to us on the foot of the mountain, how we feared him, and that we are to remember just exactly as how it was when the children of Israel heard Yahweh's voice on the mountain. We are supposed to remember it exactly at that moment. That's why we have the testimony of the Old Testament in this New Testament. And that we are to continue to teach and remind our children of this, and how Yahweh declared his covenant to us, and that is the 10, as we call them, the 10 commandments, as you know them. Now, you know what I always find ironic is how people constantly say that the Torah, our Bible and the Brit Kadashah, or the New Testament, was fake and not given by Yahweh, but was written by man. But see, they tend to forget or possibly not read their Torah or study their Torah enough and forget that it was them, the children of Israel, man, that feared Yahweh when he spoke to us at the foot of the mountain at the giving of the, as we know them, 10 commandments. And we feared him so much that it was us who requested to have a man, Moshe, speak to us on Yahweh's behalf because we were so in fear of him. And as today he continues to do because we have requested it of him. But just because man forgets about Yahweh, remember this, that Yahweh doesn't forget about us, his children, as he loves us. Now, this is why Yahweh spoke through prophets, because Yahweh honored our request. Think about that. How great of a Yahweh we have. Now, let us also not forget that Yahweh commands us to not ever create any kind of idol or to idolize. And you see how the world's turned so demonic, satanic, in a world where they have shows that are such as American Idol, making teen idols, making all kind of idols, sports figures. You wear their numbers, you idolize these sports figures and everything else about them. Musicians, you go out and buy their t-shirts, you promote them, you wear their faces on your t-shirts, on your merchandise and everything. You are idolizing these people. The commandment was not to create any idols or idolize. So if you follow the world tells you to idolize. But if you are set apart, you are kadosh, and you live for Yahweh, you do not do these things because you have the only person in your life that you will ever need. And even he tells you not to make an image of him. Now, as he put us out of the furnace of Mitzrayim, Egypt, he tells us to be a people of his own inheritance, that we should remember that Yahweh is a consuming fire and a jealous one at that. Now, as Yahweh informed the children of Israel that whenever it was that they entered into the promised land that he had promised to them, that the made idols or anything they made to idol or idolize, that he did not want anything in Shamayim, heaven, as an image to be idolized, that he would call heaven and earth as a witness against them, and that they would perish from the promised land and be scattered and would be left few in numbers among the nations where he would drive him. And we know this happened, and this is part of the exile in the first temple destruction, because they were doing these things. They were idolizing, they were taking in, they were worshiping everything and everyone else but Yahweh, are not giving him the just, righteous, and due worship that he deserved. And that from that day and from there, they would serve the idols of man. And then they would seek Yeshua, but they would not find them, lest their hearts truly seek them. Just as with the 10 virgins parable in Mattisyahu 25, remember, only 5 stayed loyal to Yeshua and knew him, but the 5 others sought him later, but could not find or know him, lest their hearts truly seek him. And let this be a good lesson for us to keep and to teach others and to teach our children to always stay loyal to Yahweh and seek him with a true heart and never forsake him. Now, for those who believe that they are so sinful and that they've done so many evil things that Yahweh would never, ever forgive them, please know that Yahweh is merciful. He will not leave you or destroy you or forget the covenant that he made and swore to us. It is not too late to repent and to seek Yeshua. You can start here and now. If you need help or would love to turn your life over to Yeshua, please see us after, or if you are listening to our service, our podcast, please email us or contact us at followYeshuaNow.com. And remember that Yeshua is seeking his bride. Are you seeking him? Remember and know that Yeshua is standing at the door knocking. If you hear his voice and open the door, he will come into you and eat with you, and you likewise with him. Now, notice how in Yahweh's commandment, for thou shalt not kill, that it does not say by sword or knife or etc. Why? Because it is not only killing somebody by means of a weapon that you are accountable, but you are also accountable for slandering someone or bullying or picking on someone so much that the pressure overwhelms this person to cause them to commit suicide, which would, because of your fault or part, hold you accountable for their death likewise. Such as with, like for instance, let's say this, accountability. When you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of these other new modern things that they have, I don't even know all the names offhand, but and you're posting these selfies of you, and you're posting them in tantalizing or stimulating or seductive clothing or attire or poses and such, or even if you're doing pornography and you are a porn star, all of these things you're accountable for, because you are also helping others to turn away from Yahweh. So when you do these things and they view these things on your account, you are held accountable for these things. At the time of judgment, you will have to answer for these things. That's why if you seek Yeshua and you repent of these things and become a new person in him, with a new spirit, then and only then can you start to live the life of Torah and understand and have a close relationship with our Abba, Yahweh. And also, you're accountable by threatening someone's life and having them so scared that they have a heart attack or similar type of health problem because of it and pass away due to it. You would be accountable for your part in murdering them, such as saying or paying someone to kill someone for you. And this is why the commandment is, thou shalt not kill. It's not just you killing right then and there with a certain aggression, but it's other ways of doing things. Such as how Judas Iscariot played his part in betraying Yeshua. He was accountable for that as well, even though he wasn't the one who physically did it. His part led to it, you see? So now, as with Moshe, he instills into us to remember the law and the 10 Commandments once we are entered into the promised land, as we should keep them once we enter into this world as well in the modern day and walk in all the ways that Yahweh has commanded us. But now in Devarim chapter 6, we hear the Shema. And what is the Shema? It is, "Hear, O Israel, Adonai our Yahweh. Adonai is one. You shall love Adonai your Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevo, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed." The Shema, which is the greatest command to follow, to give your all to Yahweh, and to not only worship him and to do as he commanded us to do, but to love him with all of our heart and soul. Because our Creator wants and knows what is best for us, his creation. Now, Deuteronomy 6 is where we get the Shema prayer from. And this is why we recite the Shema when we lie down and when we rise up, a total of twice daily, to rededicate, to show our commitment to Yahweh. Because we are set apart, we are his. And to remind us of these things. As we who are his, Yahweh's, proclaim our exclusive loyalty to him as the one and only Adonai of Israel and of us. Just as Yeshua reaffirms it for us in Mark 12:29 through 30, as it being part of the greatest commandment to love Yahweh with all of our heart and our soul, our neshama. As with the Shema, we are to love Yahweh with all of our heart and soul, through thick and thin, and even when we are dying, or if we are on our deathbed, just as Moshe was. So you see, there was the example right there as well. Along with never placing wealth before or over Yahweh, even if he gives it and takes it away. We are also in Deuteronomy 6 verse 9, charged by Yahweh, are told to also inscribe the Shema on the doorpost of our houses and of our gates. That is why when you see a lot of Jewish people with it, they have the mezuzah. As today we do it in the form of the mezuzah, which is a small box with a parchment in it which contains the Shema prayer inscribed on it. As we touch it on our going out and our coming in, as we Messianic believers use today as well. As it is customary when entering or leaving the house to kiss your fingertips and then to touch the mezuzah, which is placed on the doorpost, normally on the right, as most are right-handed. It is then customary to recite, "May Yahweh protect my going out and coming in, now and forever." Likewise, following the Shema, we are commanded to also, as in the Haggadah that is read and spoken on every Passover in the Passover Seder, as the children reenact this with the father, the Abba of the house. Now, as the commandment is that when our children ask us, what means the decrees, the laws, and the rules that Adonai our Yahweh has commanded us, that we should say to them that we were slaves to Pharaoh in Mitzrayim, Egypt, and Adonai freed us from Egypt from a mighty hand. Now, rabbis note that whenever you or anyone teaches a child, you are in essence as another, or becoming another parent to the child, as a mother or a dad to them. And as it is stated to honor your mother and your dad, so too should you honor your teachers as parents. Teachers Torah. We are never to test Yahweh. As in our half-Torah portion, Yahweh wants to comfort us. It doesn't please Yahweh to have to discipline us, just as it doesn't please a parent to discipline their children. But it is so great when we are changed, or we see our children changed for the better. Now, Yahweh wants us to be lifted up, to be with him, to love him, and him us, just as Yahweh promises us Shabbat, peace with him. And how do we know this is true? Because just as Yeshayahu, or Isaiah 40 verse 8 states, the grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of Yahweh will stand forever. Not for today and this second, not just for tomorrow, but for how long? Forever. Now, those are truly words of comfort for us. Now, Yahweh is coming for us, and his reward is with him. And he will tend us like a shepherd. He will gather us in his arms and carry us close in his bosom, so closely to his heart, as he cherishes us. Now, as in our gospel portion, we see that at this time, Yeshua is coming to end and to fulfill his commission as he is at his Last Supper meal with his disciples, as well as predicting to his disciples that one in their midst would betray him. But little, and I say little did they know, that they would all scatter soon and betray him, just as Judas would soon betray him to the Pharisees. So too would the disciples scatter, as was prophesied, that the shepherd would be struck and the sheep would scatter. Yeshua being the shepherd and the disciples being the sheep that scattered, as the shepherd Yeshua was struck. Now likewise, so as Yeshua being the shepherd who was taken away by the enemy, so too did the disciples scatter. Now, Yeshua also informs the disciples, as with us all today, that just as Yeshua served instead of being served or catered to, so too shall we do as he did and serve, because we are not greater than the master, which is a great lesson, as many forget this and believe that they are personally to be entitled to so much more. Now, Yeshua informs the disciples that because they have stayed with Yeshua through his trials, that they were given a right to eat and drink with Yeshua at his table in his kingdom that was given to him by his Father, his Abba, Yahweh, for being his loyal son. Now, this is really overlooked, but a big hidden message that Yeshua is giving to each and every one of us personally today, and then as well. That if we stay loyal and go through all trials that we must go through, obediently and loyal to Yahweh, that we too, just as the disciples were, will be given a right to eat and drink with Yeshua at his wedding feast in his new kingdom. Now, it is in my opinion that when Yeshua is telling the disciples that the one who doesn't have a sword, let him go and sell his cloak and buy one, I personally believe that he is speaking about buying spiritually into buying and wearing the armor of Yahweh and not a physical knife or sword. Now, why do I believe this? Well, if we read Revelation, you may start to see why. My advice to you is to buy from me gold refined by fire, is what it says in Revelation. You hear that? My advice to you is to buy from me gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich in white clothing, so that you may be dressed and not have to be ashamed of your nakedness, and eye salve to rub on your eyes, so that you may see. Spiritual eyes. So I ask you today, will you pick up your stake and follow Yeshua? Now, a couple of things I just want to point out before we wrap up this Torah portion. Now, Yeshua, Yahweh, placed Israel between Asia, Europe, and Africa, where all of the trade routes passed through, to see Israel and to say to themselves, how wonderful are these people, whose people are Yahweh's, and whose people Yahweh is theirs. Think about that. Right there, and he placed it. It couldn't have been more perfect. He fulfilled the prophecy that he spoke of when he stated earlier in his Torah portion, where he spoke of the people coming into the land and saying how great these people are. It's amazing what he did and how he does his stuff. Now, we must have Yahweh in our hearts and not just on our lips, as in Deuteronomy 6, verse 6 and 7. Yahweh uses the word Va'etchanan, and thou shalt impress them sharply, his words. When they are in your heart, they will be sharp as arrows. Do you get this? So he's saying that we shall impress them sharply, these arrows, his words. Now, when they are in your heart, they will be sharp as arrows to impel them into your children and disciples' hearts. Why? Because only if they are in your heart can you get them to someone else's heart. But if they are only on your lips, then that will be an arrow that is blunt and not sharp, as he said. For his words could not even penetrate the heart of yours or others. So if somebody comes to you and they don't truly have Yahweh in their heart, how can they try to get him into your heart with a blunt conviction between them? It wouldn't work. You have to have something super sharp to penetrate the skin, to get into the heart, to get into the minds of people. And that is what he's saying, that we must keep him strongly inside of us. So if somebody ever comes and asks a question, we are then there, led by the Ruach HaKodesh, and we know what to say immediately to these people who ask us. Whether it be brother, sister, anybody, we are ready. Yahweh says to stay ready, and that's what we should always do. That's why we study and keep in the Torah, to be ready. Think about that. And on that, we will close and have our Aaronic blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. This has been a weekly Torah portion from Following Yeshua Ministries. For more information or for help, please visit www.followyeshuanow.com. Shabbat Shalom.
Gadol Elohai Shilki Gadol Elohai Kol Echad Yireh Ki Gadol Elohai. Shem Yalkoshem גדול